why do we have Hernandez, Sanchez, Gomez, Rodriguez, Ramirez in the standard English pronunciation have the accent on the penultimate syllable, even Alvarez on the antepenultimate syllable. But Perez, why is that randomly now on the last syllable?
Hi, my name's Woody, I'm a linguist, and I have your answer, but also part of it is going to be an educated guess. Admittedly, I don't know if anybody has actually studied that specific name and how it changed in English. But as a linguist, English and Spanish speaker, I'm going to do my best to explain why I think that happened. And I think you kind of answered your own question already.
It should be Pérez, which sounds ridiculous in the English pronunciation.
When we borrow words from foreign language, especially ones with very different phonetics, it can sound pretty awkward when we try to pronounce the original in our otherwise native accent. So we adapt them to better fit our phonetics. It's the same reason French people say instead of brownie, because brownie doesn't sound French at all. So the real question here is, why does Perez sound awkward, but all those other names don't really sound awkward enough for English speakers to change it? And this is the part that is an educated guess, but I think it's mostly based in the R sound. Spanish pronounces those with an alveolar tap, ara, that same kind of sound that Americans pronounce for the double T in butter, which feels like a pretty solid consonant. In fact, it's a very common consonant around the world, but the R that we have in English is very strange and unique. It's very unlike other consonants. It's an approximant. It doesn't really restrict the airway the way most consonants do. And in English, an R after a P is pretty common and easy for us to pronounce, per. And I think it's shifting that R to that second syllable that feels really awkward. Because another way English is different from Spanish is that unstressed syllables in English typically get reduced, meaning the vowel sound turns into a schwa or even not pronounced at all. So if we kept the stress on the first syllable, Peréz, that second syllable would sound kind of awkward. It's not really a sound that I think we make in a lot of words in English. Of course, Alvarez gets anglicized as Alvarez, but that's a little bit different because it's a V than an R, which is much more rare than a P followed by R. So again, it's kind of an educated guess. Maybe it's not the answer you were hoping for, but I think it's to do with the way we reduce our vowels in unstressed syllables and the way the P and the R interact with each other that makes it sound awkward in English. And the stress rules in Germanic languages are like completely different from Romance languages. So a lot of the words that go from Spanish to English are going to get changed like that. For example, the name David spelled the same way. In English, the stress is on the first syllable. In Spanish, it's on the last syllable. So I hope that answer was good enough, even though it might not be perfect.